Let's head to D.C. now, where Secret Service Director Julia Pearson, she's answering some really tough questions from Congress, obviously surrounding that security breach at the White House. Feds now say that on September 19th, Iraq War veteran, you see him there, Omar Gonzalez, who had a knife on him, jumped the fence at the White House. You can see him there in the spotlight here. He ran across the lawn and he got into the White House, something we originally weren't told. Initially, the Fed said Gonzalez was taken down by Secret Service agent before he even got to the front door. Not so. It's now confirmed that he made it all the way into the East Room of the White House. And by the way, 4 minutes earlier, the first family was right in that location. Today, members of the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, they grilled Pearson about what went wrong.
This is unacceptable, and I take full responsibility, and I will make sure that it does not happen again.
I wish to God you protected the White House like you're protecting your reputation here today.
Don't let somebody get close to the president. Don't let somebody get close to his family. Don't let them get in the White House, ever. And if they have to take action that's lethal, I will have their back.
The White House is supposed to be one of America's most secure facilities, and in fact, one of the world's most secure facilities. So how on earth did it happen?
Lawmakers also raised concerns about a breach of the White House back in 2011 when a gunman fired a semi-automatic rifle through a window, and 4 days went by before the bullets were found. In fact, the housekeeper made the discovery after noticing broken glass in the Truman balcony. Lawmakers said today that the internal review conducted by the Secret Service isn't good enough, and there are calls now for an outside independent investigation. Always get those in Washington. All right, tonight on the panel, we're joined by Jonathan Yedden, Democratic consultant with the Advance Group and a former executive director for the Kings County Democratic Party. A lot of Brooklyn in the house tonight. Dominic Carter, political journalist and author. Remember him. Richard St. Paul, Republican strategist and former vice chair for the National Black Republican Association. And Andrew Whitman, our senior political correspondent, who joined me in our A block along with Dom. All right. Listen, she's a pinata, Jonathan. I get it. These things always happen. There'll be a blue ribbon committee or some independent investigation. But what to you is the most shocking part of the story?
That it happened, and that this person was able to get as far as he did in the White House. I mean, listen, we're doing air strikes in the Mideast right now. There's a situation in Ukraine with Russia and everything. You know, a lot of people are talking about this president and what he's doing to protect us, and if he can't protect his own home, it looks bad upon the president and all. I mean, granted, I mean, there's a bureaucracy and heads. I think ultimately heads need to roll here at the Secret Service. There needs to be a change. The president needs to show that, you know, this is serious stuff and somebody needs to go. There's no question about it.
And then it would happen with this president. I mean, every president needs to be protected.
Yeah.
Every president is a target. But, I mean, you knew from day one that this guy was going to have, and I hate using this phrase, but a bigger bullseye on his back than most others just because of who he is and the historic nature of his election. And that this would happen with him in the White House seems even more irresponsible.
And time again. Remember the Secret Service agents who got in trouble for
and
doing
Brazil,
all sorts of stuff,
seen,
down in South America, right?
Hanging out with some ladies of the night. Yeah, certainly there's been some breaches and some protocol that needs to be corrected. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the president and his family were not in danger, thankfully. The Secret Service, we haven't lost a president in over 50 years. Since Kennedy. So the Secret Service has done a very good job in protecting the presidents. Even though Reagan was shot, we learned a lot from that incident, and we've had a president that's been shot then. But unless we want to see dead bodies on the White House lawn, we certainly got to think about the image that we're projecting and that we're saying, that anybody who hops over the gate to the White House should be shot. And there should be dead
I'm
bodies.
with you. And that is, and imagine, there would have been calls that they overreacted if they did that, and what if they didn't see a knife on him? It's not like he was carrying it.
Look, we're talking about women who may hop over, children. Are we prepared to take that type of action? There's other protocols.
Well, your Republican friend from Utah said he's got it at their back if they do.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
But he should have been able to breach the building. It's one thing to jump over the fence and you get tackled. I mean, you watch I've gone to a baseball game and the guy gets tackled.
There was a Secret Service agent that did see him but did not shoot.
Right.
They also have dogs
but there's
that
another
will
part
come
to this, Dom, though,
and take those people down.
In both the incident in 2011, right, and then in this incident, they weren't straight. I mean, we were told one thing about when they got the guy, but he got all the way to the East Room, where literally the first family 4 minutes earlier had gotten on a helicopter, I guess going to Camp David or something. That bullet that went in there, apparently the First Lady and the President, when he got back, were none too happy, and they took a hide to some of those folks there because they're learning about it from some maid who's telling the first lady, oh yeah, by the way, did you find the bullet that was in the house where the kids walk along? So there's another part to this that they haven't exactly been forthcoming.
A couple of things, Richard. Number one, I had the opportunity of a lifetime in '88. We mentioned in the green room the Jackson campaign, but to travel with the Secret Service for over a year. If you think what happened in Brazil was the first time that they've done that, almost every night, not all the agents, but almost every night they go out and bad things happen. Trust me when I tell you, because I saw it firsthand. Number two, somebody's got to lose their job. There's no ifs or buts about this. We're talking about the White House. Number three, the good news is that as long as they're not in the private quarters, and even when they're in the White House, and even when they are in the private quarters, there are agents right outside the door. Whenever the president, the first lady, the first kids, whenever they move around the White House, there are agents there with them, even outside of a meeting room if they're having a meeting. So if this individual had got close enough, the agent would have been there to take lethal action, but this cannot happen in the White House. Somebody has to lose their job.
I'm not sure this is one of those areas that the public needs to know every detail and needs to know what the, I mean, there are some things that frankly we expect to be kept secret, and if they thought there was a security issue in knowing or releasing that the guy penetrated into the East Room, or that, I mean, I'm not necessarily sure that we needed to know that specificity
You don't think
the day
the
it
public-
happened or the day after it happened.
I just respectfully disagree. We're talking about the people's house, the White House, and we're entitled to know everything that goes on with the president
it
for the most
impacts the
part,
security of
whether
the
it's
president.
Democrat. But
Not if it impacts
but
the
if
security
there's
of
a
the
breach
president.
of security, why shouldn't we be aware of that?
Because it may incur or may encourage other people to try to do the same thing. I mean, that might have been the thinking
Good luck
around
now
this.
trying to do the same thing.
No, I understand, and I'm sure that there's going to be greater
It was
security
just
in place. But
complacency. You need something.
no,
And
but
at
the
end of
question
day-
came up about timing of letting everybody know. I'm not sure it needed to happen the day after.
At the end of the day, Secret Service agents are human beings. They're going to make mistakes. The whole thing is to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
And they
Unacceptable.
put protocols in place. But look, an officer or a Secret Service agent used his discretion to decide not to shoot the guy.
That's a good thing, but it's
And
still unacceptable.
So
But you know what?
What's
If he-
going to be
but if he
acceptable?
identified
Dead
him-
bodies on the White House lawn.
I got a logical question. If he saw it and didn't do anything, how come the guy was able to overpower another guard when he got in the building?
Because of shock. I mean, I'm sorry. Yeah, he was in shock and element of surprise. The guy did not know he was coming through
Well,
the
if you should
the
radio
door.
ahead if you see the guy
But
coming.
not-
you know,
but-
I gotta go.
okay,
to
go
break. I
ahead,
gotta
go
hit a
ahead,
break
go
here
ahead.
real quickly. We got a bunch of political guys here. When we come back, we're gonna talk some politics, including a case out of Connecticut. He's been convicted not once but twice, and he's still getting paid. I'm talking about the former Connecticut governor, John Rowland. Should you keep getting a pension? I know his grandfather, but should you keep getting a pension here from we the taxpayers, even after you've done wrong? We'll talk about that and more political stories straight ahead.